Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. My lavender latte and my Legends and Lattes mug. So today's video is going to be my October reading wrap up. So let's just get into it. The first one that I read was Now and Not Yet by Ruth Chow Simmons. Pressing in while you're waiting, wanting and restless for more. This is one of those nonfiction books that I've been going through, but if you've ever found yourself in a season of waiting or not knowing what to do, you are adjusting, or you're in circumstances you don't know how to handle, this is helpful for processing and just feeling understood and seen in that space. It also gives you some ideas of how to be present in those moments, so I would recommend that if that sounds good to you. The next book I read was Kiss of Death by Alice Wilde. This is Tempting the Fates book 1. And this is like a crossover between Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast. I liked this, but I didn't love it. It was just okay, right? There's nothing like mind-blowing about it, but it wasn't horrible. And I ended up giving it 2 stars because it was easy to read and it was fast, but I felt like there wasn't much substance to the plot or the book. It was mostly a Beauty and the Beast retelling almost, but also Cinderella, with the elements of like the evil stepmother and step-siblings and being like a slave in your house essentially. The ending was a little interesting, but again, wasn't mind-blowing. I will finish the trilogy because I'm kind of curious to see where the story goes, because I think it goes in a different direction in the second book. And it's hard with retellings because you know what's happening, right? Like you kind of know how the ending's gonna come about and you know the plot essentially when it's a retelling. It was pitched as a dark fantasy though, and I'm failing to see why, besides the character being deaf. Like it wasn't very spicy. It's not spicy at all. It's not very dark. Besides, again, the character being deaf, who is not a human. He's like a personified being and wears a mask. But I would not categorize this as like dark fantasy really. So if you're hoping for like a dark romance that's like really steamy, this is not it. But if you're in it for just like an interesting story, I would give it a shot. I liked that the way death was portrayed, but again, there wasn't a lot to this book, so I'm hoping she expands on it in books 2 and 3. But I did only give this 2 stars. The next one that I read that I absolutely loved was Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. I had been meaning to read this for a long time. This is a middle grade kind of adventure story and I loved it. I ended up giving it 5 stars. It was such a fun middle grade. I liked the magic and the whimsy of it, and there were trials and competitions, which I love, and I felt like they were done really well in this book. I enjoyed the dangerous elements and the mystery that it brought up. It was also hilarious and had me laughing out loud multiple times. I really enjoyed the writing. It's well done. And I very much look forward to continuing, even though I'm curious how the story's gonna go. I recently heard that the author is planning on this being like, I don't even remember, like 7 books, maybe more than that, which is crazy. But I'm very much looking forward to continuing. You're following a girl who is a cursed child, and I think it's on their 12th birthday. They are cursed to die, and the shadow hunt will come for them, and in the midst of being chased by the shadow hunt, a mysterious man named Jupiter North comes and offers her a place in the Wondrous Society. But what happens is that she gets taken to Nevermore, and then she has to compete in these trials, inducted into the Wondrous Society if she wins, if she's chosen. And if she's chosen, she doesn't have to go home. If she doesn't, she has to be kind of like deported from Nevermore. So I really enjoyed this story. Like I said, it was very good. On the back, it says "Step boldly." Loved this. My husband was listening to like parts of it with me when we were in the car ride, and he was also laughing at parts of it. It was so good. The next book that I read was The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a cozy fantasy, and you're following a main character who was a librarian in a big city, but because of some rebellions and some fire and a big fire that was in the city, she ends up running away with books and her sentient spider plant, Kaz. And she runs to her hometown where she's originally from, but she doesn't have a ton of memories of. It's where her parents raised her for the first few years of her life before they moved to the big city. And it's this small little cozy town, and she ends up getting into their cottage and trying to renovate it a little bit just so it's more livable. And because she has to kind of make some money, she decides to use the magical books that she brought with her to kind of create some spells to make and sell jam. But the use of magic is very restricted and very dangerous, so she's kind of navigating the situation as an introvert who works in a library, but needing to interact with the townspeople for goods, for livelihood, all of those things, and her navigating that with her neighbors and just the people of the town is very cute and very sweet. A little bit of a romance as well. I really enjoyed this to the point where I went out and got a copy of it because I did really like it. And book 2, The Enchanted Greenhouse, comes out next year, I believe. And this is just like a little cozy fantasy book, but if you are in want of a cozy fantasy, I would recommend checking this out. Oh, and I ended up rating this 4 stars, and I hope there's more plants in book 2. I loved Meep, by the way. Okay, I have more things to say, I'm sorry. So it was cute and magical, but it was kind of like a Hallmark movie. So if you picture the plot of a Hallmark movie, that's this. Like, big city girl moves to small town man woos her. That's what it is. But Meep and Kaz, the sentient plants, loved. The next one I read was Hollowed by Jessica S. Taylor. This is a Sleepy Hollow reimagining, and I thought I would really love this, and I did like the Sleepy Hollow Headless Horseman elements. And there's nothing wrong with this book or story. I think I just wanted it to be something else, and I wanted something else out of it. I didn't love the main character's abilities, and I wanted the story to lean way more heavily into the Headless Horseman aspects of it than I think that this book did. So that's just kind of like a personal thing. I wanted more of the Headless Horseman. It gave me more other stuff. I liked it okay, but I didn't love it. I also didn't hate it. I got a little bored sometimes and ended up giving this 2.5 stars, which I'm sad, but I would love to read like any Headless Horseman retelling. Next up, I read An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, and as per other books from hers that I've read, I did really like this. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was full of adventure. I devoured this on a travel day where I had a couple of flights to catch, and it was a great distraction. Even though the story didn't go where I thought it would, but I loved the art and the fairy elements of this story. This is one where the fae are tricky and dangerous, which I enjoyed. There were darker elements as well, and I really appreciated it. It was adventurous and engaging enough to keep you interested. This is my second book from this author, and I've enjoyed everything so far and will continue to read her works. 4.5 stars, like I said. I also read Sheets by Brianna Thumler. This was an impulse. I kind of wanted something Halloween-y and spooky and cute, and kind of remembered this existed and searched it up on Libby and was able to rent it, and so I read it. It's a graphic novel, so it went very quickly. But it was a very cute, very fast read. It's also a little bit sad. I liked the little sheet ghosts. That was so cute. The story was sad but heartwarming at the same time. I thought it would talk about mental health or hard topics more than it did, but it was more subtle. It was handled in a more subtle way, and death in a more subtle way. A cute little autumn read. I would highly recommend reading this in October. I thought the vibes were perfect, and it was just really cute. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I also read The Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee. This is book 1 in the Summoners trilogy. The Shamanborn trilogy. And I finally finished this book. I've been working on this for years. I read the first 100 pages and then put it down for whatever reason and never picked it up again. But alas, I finally did and was able to finish it on plane rides back from a work trip, no less. I thought this was okay. I honestly think the first 100 pages that I read were more fascinating to me than the rest of the book. The story was okay, but it felt a little vague or pointless on occasion, at least for me. The ending was interesting, and I might continue the series just to see what happens, but I don't have enough interest to pick up the second book right away, if that makes sense. The shaman magic system was really cool though, and I look forward to more of that, but the political plot felt a little bit lacking and a little bit out of nowhere for me. Overall, it was fine. I think if the story and the summary interests you, give it a shot. It's a little bit creepy as well. I gave it 3 stars. And I'm getting rid of it, which is why I'm not holding it up. Next, I read Howl's Moving Castle by Deanna Wynne Jones. This was fun. It differs from the film, both which I've just watched and read for the first time this year, recently, kind of close together. But it's still good. I think I like the movie more than the book, but they both have elements that make them unique and fun. It's more of an adventure story where the plot is rather just stumbling upon the next thing and then the next thing, and it just kind of goes from there. You stumble upon something or things just happen. It's not super fleshed out or spelled out for you, but it does carry a whimsical element because of that, which can be enjoyable, and I did enjoy. I quite enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I read it, even if it was kind of whimsical and nonsensical at times. It was funny and sort of eerie with the witch and the curses and just everything coming into play in this. I think the movie has different creepy visual elements to it, but this is creepy in a different way. It was a very fast read and a very fun read, and ended up giving it 4 stars. And glad I have a copy of it. Next, I read Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. I'm not gonna stay on this too long because I did do a full book review on this, and it's a very short little holiday novella. But this was so cute. A little holiday novella. It's very whimsical, magical, over the top, cute, beautiful, dazzling holiday theming. I think it will very much put you in the mood for the holiday season and Christmas. So if you're looking for something very immersive and very on theme, maybe save it for then. But I loved it. I think this was one of the catalysts that has like propelled me into wanting Christmas to be now instead of after Thanksgiving. Because it did kind of put me in that spirit of activities and festivities. But I think Stephanie Garber's writing really shined in the magical holiday setting, and I really loved it. If you would like to hear more in-depth thoughts about it, check out my review video. I gave it 5 stars, of course. The next one I read, well, finished reading, I've been reading this for a while, was Soul Care by Rob Reimer. This is 7 Transformational Principles for a Healthy Soul. This is something that I kind of went through with a group to do different work personally with different things you're going through, different things from your past, things you're struggling through. It was good. I would recommend giving it a shot if it sounds like something that would be interesting to you, but I did read it, so I wanted to mention it. The next one that I was able to read was The Forest Grimm by Catherine Purdy. This was my first book by this author, and I did enjoy it. It was fun. I liked the twist of the Grimm fairy tales and how it was more sinister. This was more of an adventure story with a little bit of romance. It's a YA book. And I did really like the dark forest fairy tale vibe. I'm curious to read book 2. I would say this is more of a, like, I did read it, I did enjoy it, I gave it 3 stars, but it didn't capture me like higher rating books do. You're following a girl who wants to go into the Forest Grimm to find her mother. And basically anybody that goes into the forest is lost and forever, and if you stumble into the forest, you can be taken, you can be killed. Like, there's just so many dangerous, horrible things that can happen, and the fairy tales kind of live in this. So like, think Rapunzel, but it's a horrible twist on Rapunzel. And she wants to find her mother. She ends up you get like picked in this town to go in, but the people that go in never come out again. But she finds out that this cloak that her mother made her that is blood red somehow protects her from some of the magic of the forest, and so she goes in with a companion, and they're both trying to find people that they've lost in the forest, and the story goes from there. Like I said, I like that it was more sinister and creepy, but it's not scary. It's not like a horror book. I did like it. I'm curious about how the story is going to continue, but it also didn't like absolutely blow my mind, you know? But it was good. Those are all of the books that I was able to read in October. Please comment down below and tell me what your favorite read of October was. I would love to know, as always. But for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.